What if I told you that a single demographic shift in India is creating a multi-billion-dollar industry right under our noses? While most Indians are chasing the next multi-bagger and looking at technical analysis, there is a massive revolution happening right here with our neighbors with a new concept known as the Raja Beta of Indian families. Let me explain. So today I'm going to decode a very interesting report on the Indian consumer behavior, and also we're going to look at how this Indian consumer behavior is applied to our stock market and how there are some companies in the market that are and have given multi-bagger returns. So we're going to connect the dots on this. But first, we need to understand the concept of the Raja Beta of Indian families. But before that, let's get into the part one. The Netflix generation has just come in. Now, let me give you an example. Recently, one of my friend called Raj in Bangalore came and told me that Shashank, my dad basically bought his first car after 10 to 12 years of working. And me, I have bought an iPhone with just 3 months of work from my salary. But with this, I have taken a massive EMI of 2 years. And this is a massive consumer shift that is happening right now in India. And if you go and ask your parents the same thing, they would never have even dreamt of affording something so expensive and taking a loan to actually buy huge consumer products. Now, look at this report. This basically says that the middle class, not your upper class, not your luxury class, your middle class is trying to emulate the top 2% of India because everyone wants to look rich and feel rich. And see the stats, they're not lying, right? If you look at the upper middle class, the number of Indian students that have gone abroad to study has gone up from 400 in 2016 to almost 1,600 in 2024. And if you look at the middle class, with the percentage age share of the private schools from public schools, that has also gone up quite drastically. Not just that, look at your Zara India revenue. It has gone from 1,100 crores to almost 2,700 crores, right? And if you look at the Mercedes Benz India revenue, which is a very clear indication that our middle class is trying to be like the uber rich, you will see that their revenue has gone up 6 times in the last 3 to 4 years. That's it, right? And this is not something that is looking at only in the terms of the Zara or something like that. If you look at India and if you look at other companies that are there, you will see a similar trend that happened with Titan Industries. Titan Industries from 2020 has been going up very drastically, and you would have heard this trend or this term called premiumization. Now, what is premiumization? Premiumization is basically that phenomenon where the middle class wants to basically buy expensive premium stuff even though it is outside our means and even though we can't afford it. Now, you might tell me, Shashank, all this is fine. We understand premiumization, but now how is it affecting anyone? And that is where the problem number two comes in, where the one child policy has kicked in India without actually a policy being in place. This means most families today are preferring to have one child instead of two children. Now let's look at this graph very closely. On the right hand side, you will see that the fertility rate and urban life choices have actually fallen down quite drastically in India. And this is not just India, this is happening everywhere in the world. Number two, we are more okay to go buy expensive coffees in Starbucks and also go buy expensive Apple iPhones and MacBooks as well. And another thing that has caught on recently, if you've noticed, people are now traveling more and going outside India rather than going inside India and going beyond means. And there is even a statistic that actually showed that people are taking an EMI, taking a personal loan to go travel abroad, which is absolutely mind-boggling. And what happens with all of this? The education starts getting affected because now I am only going to have one child because I'm already spending over and above my means to actually save up and afford two children. Now, what does this mean in simple economic terms? Fewer children means more money for that single child, which means that child is going to grow up as a Raja Beti or a Raja Beta and is going to have this false sense of princelyhood. Now, that means he can buy iPhones at an earlier age, he can go buy expensive stuff at an earlier age, or maybe even a car, and this is all going to be funded by people like me. And this is because your kids are now growing up with the common notion that my parents travel a lot, my dad drinks a lot of Starbucks, he has an iPhone, and he also has a MacBook, and I think we're very rich. But what he really doesn't know is that the father might have 3 EMI loans on his head and he's technically not very rich. Now, coming to the investment thesis on this, we understood the Raja Beta, Raja Beti concept. So now we have to keep our eye out on this term called premiumization. And don't worry, I will show you multiple stock examples in the end that are actually playing out on this theme beautifully in India. Now comes the most shocking example that I'm going to show you, which is the rate of salaries are actually not going up. Now look at this very interesting stat that I'm showing you, right? Point one is that maids in our household in 2004, they were making approximately 36,000 rupees a year. Now they're making anywhere between 2,40,000 to 2,80,000 rupees a year, which is equal to 20,000 rupees a month. What are they doing? They are basically doing moonlighting, going to 4 or 5 different houses and making approximately 15 to 20,000 rupees per month. Not just maids, even if you look at your Swiggy, Zepto, all of these guys who are going and doing deliveries, they also easily make up more than 30 to 40,000 rupees per month. But in the same thing, if I go to the right and look at the TCS entry level salaries, since 2004, that has not gone up, because that has now stayed up at 4 lakh rupees a year. So even though the maid salary has adjusted itself to inflation, TCS has not adjusted itself to inflation. And this is something that I had just pointed out on Twitter as well. And why is this creating a problem? This is creating a problem because don't forget, your Raja Beta does not want to do manual or menial jobs right now in India. Right? Everyone wants to become a software engineer. Everyone wants to go work in TCS, Wipro, and do IT software services because they feel it is a white collar job. And because you have a white collar job and you're paying IT and you're paying taxes, you can also now start taking EMIs. So technically, the people who are now getting into the rush of going into an IT job has become so much, and that is why you see the demand is not there, but the supply is insane. Now, why is this becoming an issue? Because more and more kids are now getting educated in an English medium school. As you saw, they're going into private education, and this creates a very weird paradox, and that paradox is called high aspirations but moderate incomes. Because everyone who's working in an IT job or an entry level job, they want to go take an EMI to live in that high life, right? Now, the real money, if you look at from an investment thesis standpoint, the real money is not just in IT software services, but it is actually in someone providing niche services or specialized services that have technical human labor involved in it. And these are some things that are beautiful, that is creating a massive shift in India. Now you might ask me this question, that Shashank, where is all this money coming from? I know these guys don't have money. So where are the money coming from? And for this, it is another very interesting thing. It is called the bank of parents. Now, yes, parents are actually helping these young students or the guys who are just coming out of their first job to actually take a loan. Not just that, I know kids who are still studying in college who already have iPhones, they already have credit cards, and they are partying a lot, which even I didn't party when I was 22 at that age, right? Now, if you look at this, if you look at the average age that is there for people who are taking loans, the average age of a two-wheeler loan is 28. 28. A credit card is coming at the age of 28. A personal loan at the age of 29. Then this is when you need to be compounding your money, not actually going into loan. A consumer durable loan to buy electronics is at 29, a gold loan at 31, and a housing loan at earliest age of 33. And this is the average. An average means there are people higher but also people lower, and I know people who are at the age of 25, 26 taking EMIs, taking loans, and they don't understand what is happening. And why is this creating an issue? Because everything stems from one big problem, and that is part number 3, the branding revolution. But if I talk about this, yes, it is a problem that Raja Beta and Raja Beti are taking loan. But if I look at it from a stock market standpoint, it is great, because now I need to focus on companies like Bajaj Finance or any other NBFC who's actually lending very well to all of this ecosystem. And that is why you see a company like Bajaj Finance in the last few years has gone up quite drastically, right? From 2020, it was at 26,000 crores, or 7,600 crores in revenue, has gone up to 22,000 crores just in the last 3 to 4 years. And this is where the whole premiumization part comes in, because we know that a lot of companies are now selling their Voltas ACs, or they're selling purifiers or digital products. And who are the people buying? It is the average Indian consumer. Now, this is where everything will make sense to you. The brand revolution that is going from regional to national, and this has mainly happened because of the digitization of the world. Now, because we have phones and there are a lot of social media influencers out there, we are looking at everyone and trying to be like them. So earlier, if you remember, in India, South India used to have a king of gold chains. Then North India had their own gold chain player. East India had a gold chain player. But now everyone across the world wants to see different things, mainly in India as well. Now, a person sitting in South might want to wear a Sabyasachi that someone wore in the North, right? So this, what happens is the brands start becoming digital. The barrier between states have actually completely gone away. And this has actually created a very big problem. And not just a problem, it is problem for people, but good from a stock market standpoint. because this is also creating a lot of multi-baggers. Now, let me give you an example. We've heard of cool aspirational brands like Tumi, Nike, Zara, H&M, which is high price but also high quality, right? This is boring. We also have the legacy brands, which are your VIP, Bata. This is low price but cheap quality. And we also have a very interesting player who capitalized on this trend, and that company was called Zudio. Now, if you look at Zudio from a simple analysis, you will understand that this stock went up from 1,000 to almost 8,000 in a span of just 3 years, and they did exactly the same thing. They capitalized on this low quality, low price, and they did not use social media influencers, they did not use marketing, and that was one of the key drivers of their growth. And if I actually have to show you their profit and loss statement, you will see that after 2021, they have gone ballistic with the number of stores they opened without social media marketing, improved margins from 4% or 13% to 16%, and actually gave a massive result of 1,534 crores. And this is something that is happening all around us. It is not a secret. And not just that, because of social media, as I told you, there are a lot of brands that are now reaching out to every other part of India. Mainly, this phenomenon was seen in your gold jewelry chain brands. We see new brands coming in like Senko, Kalyan expanding across the reach, PC Chandra, Lalita, which is mostly a Chennai based brand, Tamil Nadu based brand, is now expanding across. Bima Jewelers now become a common household name. And on the same side, we will see Tanishq doing something similar, where they went and acquired Carrot Lane, right? What is happening here is now they have gone into the premiumization of diamonds, and now people are buying that as well. And all of them are obviously going slightly beyond their means. Now let's go deeper into this and understand with D2C brands what actually worked and what actually didn't work, so that we don't make simple mistakes when we go through our investing journey. Now, if you see with the rise of Raja Beta and Raja Beti, this creates a space for new brands to pop up. Like for example, there was a brand called Mokobora that came from nowhere and started rivaling your VIP Safaris and all of the other companies as well. And if you look at this, most of the new brands are coming in with a similar thesis. Like for example, how many of you all heard about this brand called Atomberg, right? This replaces your simple fan and makes it into a smart fan, right? I mean, it does the same thing. Abhi bhi hawa deta hai, but it replaces it into a smart fan. And this is something that was more expensive, and people started buying this more, mainly to look cool, and also started posting this online. A company called Bluestone did something similar, also known as the first gen D2C brand. They also started selling to marketplaces and then started selling to private labels, and then became a D2C brand, then became a B2B brand. And a lot of questions again come up here as well. And you will see this happening across. But there is a simple playbook for all of these first gen D2C brands. What is the playbook? First, they will sell through their own website. Great. Then they will sell on marketplaces like your Boat and Atomberg. Then they will import and start white labeling. Either they will buy it from China, or they will find a local manufacturer, put their sticker, which what 90% of people are doing today in India. And then there are fourth type of people that do influencer marketing and do all of them, right? And this is something that every single person is doing right now. Now you might think that, Shashank, this is something that is only in the private market, not in the public market, but you'll be wrong, because similar playbooks are happening there as well. But I will tell you what worked and what didn't work. Now the biggest problem, and this is why your Honasa Entertainment or your Mamaearth, after going IPO, did not do really well, and this is because of a single big factor called CAC, which is customer acquisition cost. Now, when you keep doing ads constantly, your customer acquisition cost is not sustainable. And if your customer acquisition cost becomes expensive, your margins will automatically start going down. And this is exactly what companies like Mamaearth did in the past, where they raised VC money, spent 300 rupees to acquire a customer worth 200 rupees, making a loss every single time. So when your customer acquisition cost goes up quite high, your revenue margins will automatically start falling down. And this is where your traditional brands like Titan, Trent, all of these guys did not do this, right? And they played a simple game. For example, even Titan has something called as Titan I Plus, where they don't spend an insane amount in customer acquisition cost. In fact, these people went the opposite approach. What did they do? They started opening something known as exclusive outlets, right? So exclusive brand outlets, or also known as EBO, is something that has become the new trend now, because people cannot only depend on online sales. And this is something we're seeing with a lot of stock listed brands as well. Some common companies that you will see right now that are working on this premiumization trend are companies like V2 Retail, We are also seeing Aditya Vision that did really well. We also see Ethos that is working in the similar space. Landmark Cars, which usually sells Mercedes, is also in the similar space. So all of these things are giving a massive rise to this. And obviously, as I told you before, the biggest disruption was Zudio in all of this. Now, before we go into the next part, which is how to create a framework for these brands, the next wave that is coming out is called the Gen 3 brands. Now, this is something that you should observe more closely. See what your brother or sister is doing. What are they buying? There is absolutely no brand loyalty as of today. We have seen that quick commerce has completely changed the game. What Amazon did for bigger brands in the past, quick commerce is doing for smaller brands. And we see successes like Go Zero ice creams that came on Shark Tank, started selling on quick commerce, and now is almost sold out in most places. Not just that, Mamaearth, Zepto, all of these are now enabling these companies to get into that space. Even Nika is also enabling these companies to go into that. Number two, we're seeing another trend happening called the rural premiumization, that people in the rural areas are also now going beyond their means to buy expensive things. And this is something we came across in most con calls in FMCG companies, where now companies like ITC, Hindustan Unilever, they're all buying companies that are already in the premium space. Now coming to investment framework, because Shashank, without investment framework, what's the point of doing this video, right? Now, how do we evaluate consumer brand investments? Couple of green flags and red flags, and you can see it on the screen right now. The first green flag is they should have an offline growing presence and not just stick to online, because if they're online, what happens is their unit economics will go for a toss. So that is why the second most important thing is the unit economics. Third, they have to be targeting an undeserved demographic, ideally the middle class and the lower middle class group. And fourth, they should be building a real IP and also their own manufacturing capabilities, not putting a sticker of someone else, because then anybody can come and it's only a branding game. And five, they should have a category leadership potential. These are the green flags. And if you look at the red flags, they should not have over dependence on paid marketing. There should be a clear path to profitability. And if they have no clear path, it is a red flag. They should not be another Me Too product with no differentiation. And they should not be a founder dependent brand. And again, if they ignore offline channels, it becomes a big red flag for me. Now, as I told you, this is not a 1 or 2 year trend. This is a 20-year trend that is playing out right under our noses. And how do I create, if I had to create a consumer brand investing portfolio strategy, how would I do this? First things first, I would make a core holding portfolio of 60%, which are these players who have already established themselves. These are players like Titan, Trent, Avenue Supermarket, DMart, right? And I would also go into the lending players like Bajaj Finance. I would take Pidilite, which is a B2B king. So these are my safe investments, but these are something that is doing really well. Then I will take 30% allocation into growth bets. Now here I will find the best in class regional brands that are going abroad, somewhere like your Aditya Vision, your Senko. These are players that are going outside the normal realm. Companies benefiting from rural premiumization. And this is something I've seen a lot in auto ancillary companies, where they're giving premiumized parts to your bikes, right? So that is something that's doing really well. And I already know a few companies doing well there. And then we have 10%, which are absolute private IPO bets. You can go to pre-IPO levels, you can go to unlisted market and take a small few bets there. But again, this is not something I would advise. I would still look at the current market and find some FMCG player that is at a low market cap. And if you want, you can also take a contrarian opportunity, right? Go against the market. Find companies that are already big players. Look at your Safari, VIP, Bata, that have fallen down so drastically because of everything, and see if they are doing a comeback or they are doing a turnaround. Now, coming to the final thing, right? Most important action plan I would tell you guys is, boss, study patterns that are across your existing cycle. Look at what your parents are doing, look at what your friends are doing, look at what your brother and sister are doing. Find out what are these brands that are coming out offline. If you just walk around or you go in your car, you will see a lot of stores coming up. Understand that when a store expansion happens, the chances of profitability is much higher, because you have to look at the same store sales growth that is happening as well, right? Try to bridge these opportunities and try to actually think 10 years into the future and understand where is the final game being played. Now again, this was a slightly different video, but I hope you understood that how important it is to understand a 20-year mega trend like this, and the rise of Raja Beta or Raja Beti can actually create huge multi-baggers for people like me and you. So if you have any more ideas of stocks that you feel are in this concept, put it in the comment section below, and this report I will share it with you as well in the comment section. Now if you like this, please let me know if you like this kind of video, because then I can make more videos like this. This is me, Shashank Udupa, signing off guys. Take care. See you guys. Bye bye.